Hi, I'm Michelle Sauter with One Coast Design. Welcome to our Highland Springs project. When someone curious about a new home build or buying a new home that needs renovation calls us that has never worked with an interior designer, they're like, what do y'all do? We do a lot. We are the junction box of all the pieces and parts of your project. If you're working with an architect, if you're working with a builder, if you were working with a planned community, or if you're just doing renovation, there are a lot of pieces and parts that have to be determined before a hammer swings, as we call it. And one of those things with working with a designer is also understanding what your course of action needs to be. Whether you're working with an architect, or if you're buying into a planned community, or if you want to do a lot of renovation in your home that has to do with taking out walls, moving things around, and working with a structural engineer. Structural engineers need to be brought into the team when we need to find out whether or not a particular building can handle weight if we're adding a second story or if we're just adding onto the back. I have these plans out here just to give you a little bit of an idea of an ocean of questions that your contractor is going to have for you if you are going straight from plans to he's ready to build it for you. And what we always say is a shovel should not hit the dirt until all of these decisions are made. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is your builder is going to chase you for each and every little decision because he doesn't know what you want, and you said, I don't know yet, and he said, no problem. We're going to go ahead and start building, and you can tell us later. Do not do that. All of these decisions should be made right out of the gate because what they're doing is they're adding on, and rightfully so, some padding because they know that you're going to drag your feet and you need a lot of time to decide. Wouldn't you rather use that extra padding and say, listen, I can be very decisive. I'm working with a design team. I have all of these selections chosen already. We're ready to go. And they're not held up, and they're like, their bid's going to come in totally different. You're going to get a lot more bells and whistles if you are ready to get going where the rubber meets the road. And we have all of this planned out for you. Even in a home like this in a planned community, this island alone has probably about 50 decisions that had to be made. It doesn't feel like it. To include, and when I'm talking about the entire kitchen, all of these are decisions. What kind of hardware? What style of cabinetry? What's the backsplash going to look like? What's happening with the countertops? Oh, there's 1,000 things that you can choose for countertops. Hardware again, depth of cabinetry, colors. Do I want a different color island than my cabinets? What's that going to look like? What's my floors? All of these things have to talk to each other. If you can get all of these decisions planned out with your design team ahead of time and hand them a book, literally with Excel spreadsheets, every single finish, size, they don't have to come to you for anything. The builder comes to the design team when they need clarification. They're not chasing you to find out what particular piece of hardware goes where, because there's going to be different hardware in your master bath than there is in your kitchen or in your guest bath or in your laundry room. And getting all of those decisions made out of the gate makes it smooth sailing for them. They are going to kiss you on both cheeks if you hand them something like that. They don't feel like you're being the boss of them. They're so happy that someone comes to them prepared and that all of these decisions have been made. That's what a design team does. We can see around corners. We know what everything needs to look like. We're not going to say, oh, just pick what you like, whatever you're drawn to. Oh, it'll all work together. No, it won't. Especially when you're mixing finishes and you've got the floor to worry about and all of the different trim systems and things like that. When we're working with a planned community home and you have a model that you've chosen and you have to go to that office and you have 3 hours to pick out everything, talk about decision fatigue. Your eyes will be rolling in the back of your head at about hour 2 if you're not prepared for this meeting, and no one ever is, unless you bring a designer with you and you've already had the meeting and you already know what you're going for. We've already been to the office. We already know what they're going to show you. We know how to go, we'll take this please, and yep, not this one, but this one. And we're so decisive, you're going to get everything that you need and nothing that you don't. When you're buying in a planned community, again, you're going to go to the office and it's going to take 3 hours. All of your choices have to be made. It's exhausting and you have no idea how everything's going to fit together. You've been through the model. you think you know, it's not the same. And not only that, those same finishes and selections that are in the model are not going to be available to you. It behooves them to make the model super fancy dancy, but you're going to get a different set of things that are going to be offered to you. And that's where we come in. We've already had a meeting, you and I. We've already decided the entire design of everything. So when we go with you to that meeting, we're very clear about what you're going to get and what you're going to spend your money on. I cannot tell you how many clients who did not use a designer going into this meeting said by hour 2, my eyes were rolling in the back of my head. I didn't understand. Everything was mishmash together. I didn't know what it was going to look like. We got exhausted. It was just too much. And there wasn't any kind of break. We just needed to get it done. So we thought we would just power through it. There are things that you do want to spend money on. There are other things that you don't. The things you want to spend money on are things that we would have to rip out and put in that are very messy and time consuming, like the flooring. This is a big battle I always have. I'm like, that's the thing you can't mess around with. Now, if you're doing a brand new from scratch house and we're working with an architect and a builder, we have a lot more choices to make, but we also have a bigger library of finishes that we can choose from, and we can start to design the spaces and source the exact tile and floor finishes and paint and all of the accessory pieces that go into a new build versus going into a planned community. It's just a different animal. Now, if you come to us and you're already living in your home and you're looking for a renovation, that's a whole different program. We might employ an architect, we might employ someone like a structural engineer, but if it's just cosmetic and it's just us taking down separators, which are walls that are not load-bearing, that's easy enough to do. That all gets selected before we hand everything over again in a book, so that everything's already chosen, they're not held up. Most contractors, at least in our area now, don't want to work on small jobs. They do want to work with companies that work on larger projects, because we do understand how to keep a small project and not turning it into a big project. That's why a lot of construction companies won't come out to just do your bathroom. They want to know, what else do you need to have done? Well, that's not for them. You need to call a kitchen and bath place. No, you don't. You can use a designer who has the team that can come in and do it. You have to be prepared, and all of these selections need to be made ahead of time. Another thing to consider when you're meeting with us at the design center is all these what we call goodies. What they will offer you is whether or not you want a fireplace and how do you want that to be set up. Do you want electrical or do you want a pipe for gas? Those are the types of decisions that need to be made in the design portion of the program. You don't want to be hit with something like that and you didn't even know it was coming, and you have to have the answer right then. This was a blank wall. This complete design from your designer can be added later, after you have already taken possession of the home from the design center and from the builder. All of this was designed after the fact. You'll see a lot of touches around this particular home that were added, that were design details that really made it feel like it was special and custom. And when we're designing the entire space and we're using a lot of collected pieces from the client, sometimes there's a big wall and we don't want to put a bunch of pictures on it. And even though gallery walls are very popular, we know how to do them very well, sometimes you need one statement piece. And that's this piece that I created for her. It's big and it makes a statement, but yet it doesn't take over the room. It's just nice and atmospheric. And another really interesting and fun design detail of this particular home was this wall that had 3 windows on it. Do we put window treatments in there? You know, what's going on? And I said, no, we're going to take the trim off from around it and we're going to go ahead and do a large mural and we're going to frame it out so that this is really a great focal point for this space. All of these spaces don't look like carbon copies of each other. The colorways change ever so slightly, but what you will notice is how everything's just kind of connects together and flows very easily. The colorways in certain areas are more developed and the green will be darker here and lighter here, but you'll see how it all is very blended out so that nothing seems too matchy-matchy. Another fun thing we like to do is do a little bit of the unexpected. In a situation like this where we had a cabinet that was here that was closed, we went ahead and removed that and put a dry bar in like this with a refrigeration system and storage. And now it's a beautiful walk-up bar. Another thing we like to do is change out the switch plates and also the controls. You're gonna get exactly what you want. You know I love a dimmer, so I have to have everything on dimmers, and it also has to look super cute. This is an entertaining home. They can just walk up, somebody can make themselves a drink and continue on with the rest of the party. And it's a part of the main area, so it's not like they're leaving the party to go get something and they can help themselves. In this master bedroom, this was a blank slate. Everything that you see in here has been added, from all of the cornice molding to all of this board and batten, the grass cloth wallpaper. Everything you see is all custom designed for this home and for this space, so that all of the spaces talk to each other, but each one has a little bit different moment to it. We love adding things like this after the fact. It's just a beautiful addition to the architecture and also helps it feel a lot less like a box. Now, when we're working in a planned community, when we're having them pull for lights, we're putting in the least expensive thing or just pulling wire. If we're working directly with a builder, we have all of the lighting already selected, so when they're ready to put the lights in, they have them already ready to go and they just pop them in, and it's like magic. Now, one of the other things that we can do to make it super fancy-dancy, especially in a planned community, is to do fabulousness like this. You're going to be able to have wallpaper. We did all kinds of trim systems in the ceiling, and all of this molding that you see was all added, but you see what a huge difference it makes in the opulent look of the room. It feels really like a spa, like your space. And our client got a lot of bang for the buck in this particular space. You wouldn't find any of this at a design center. We added all of this. She needed to be able to have a laundry in a tight space, so all of these opulent finishes, fancy-dancy wallpaper, backsplash, all of this is custom and fits the rest of the house and feels like a room that you can just pass by and doesn't scream laundry. This is a fun space where you can get everything you need to get done. And your own personal entry from the garage needs to be fancy-dancy too. I mean, look at this. This is where you come in. You need to be wowed in your own home. And when we were in the design center with this client, we knew exactly what we were going to be doing with this room. So the selection of this particular stone was easy for us to go to, even though it didn't make sense to them, because we knew how it was going to relate with the entire design, which is why you have everything figured out before you go in. And one of the things about having a really beautiful custom office in your home is to be able to have the amount of storage and display area that you truly want. This particular client, they've traveled all over the world and they have lots of memorabilia that means a lot to them, and we were very excited to be able to incorporate it into this design. This client loves this desk and loves to be able to sit here with her laptop or take care of correspondence, and she really feels like a queen in her throne. Classic example of pieces that we love to work with that our clients show us and say have to be a part of the design. We say, yes, please, especially something like this. We pretty much had to fight her for it because we actually wanted it, but it looks fabulous here. We loved explaining to our client how wonderful wallpaper is. Well, she just went with it. She's like, whatever you think. So we said, oh, we think. And we put this wallpaper up and also picked another style of wallpaper, a different pattern, with an adjacent colorway to the ceiling because, you know, it's the fifth wall. But talk about making an entrance. When her guests come through, it's absolutely incredible. And the way that these light fixtures shoot light on it is like an added layer. And now we're in the sunroom. This is a really small anteroom right off of the open concept dining room. And what we did in here is we put light filtering shades, draperies all the way up to the crown molding. And just for fun, we took a couple of her pieces that she brought with her. We had them recovered, so now they're enjoying a really beautiful second life. She lives in this room. Who doesn't love an all-weather room, especially where we're located? This used to be completely open to the elements. We closed it off, brought all this seating in here. We even painted the floor and picked up the color of the island from the other room. Talk about just an area where you can relax and be casual and watch television, read a book, just chill out. And then those sliding glass doors cordon off this area for privacy if you want to watch a movie and other people are doing other things. All of these open up, the screens open to the elements, and you're sitting outside, minus the mosquitoes, and we have big ones here. At One Coast Design, we love what we do. We create a seamless design process for you and your builder. We know our clients will enjoy their home for years to come.